All right, so we finished our graph, and today we're going to go through and try to add a menu to the chart activity. We'll start with that, and then we'll extend that so that we can have menus on the other activities as well. But we'll start with a menu for changing between the line chart and the bar chart. I thought that would be kind of useful. All right, and you could do it where you change it and only show before meals or after meals or whatever, but just to show you an example. So the first of all of the menus, there's not a drag and drop menu function in Eclipse or in IntelliJ. So we first have to create a new resource called a menu folder. So we're going to say we need a new resource file, and we want it to be of type menu, and we call it menu. All right, so we say okay. And it creates a menu folder where all of your menus now reside. So this is a beginning menu, and menu is probably not the right word here. I should have used chart or something here. So I'm going to delete that. We'll start over. Let's delete that guy and create a new resource file called chart. All right. So this is a chart menu. And this is where we add some XML. So the whole menu structure has to be created using XML. So each menu has an item structure, and it needs an ID. So each item needs an ID. And remember, the items start with an @ plus ID / and then whatever the name of your item is going to be, the name of the item, the ID, so that we can get that inside of our program. So that's the programmatic name of it. And then we might have a title. All right, so there's a title attribute for this item. And this is what actually gets displayed to the user. All right, so that's one item. And so once we have that set up, it needs an ID and a title. I'm going to copy and paste that so that we have two of them, and call this one line chart instead. All right. So that's our menu file stored in our menu folder inside of our resources. So all of our menus are going to be there. It has to be in that structure. All right. So then in our action where this menu is going to reside, we have to override a method. And so we're going to put this inside of our chart activity, because that's the one that uses that open source charting system. And so we need to override a method. So we're going to use the override declaration. And this is a method called onCreateOptionsMenu. All right, onCreateOptionsMenu. And it takes a menu object that we're going to call menu. Doesn't that sound really creative? Right there. So we need to import the package for that. If we can get, this works a lot better on the Mac, I have to say. There we go. So we need to import that package, and that's going to import this menu package up here. So inside of this, I'm going to do it the long way just to show you these different objects. But there's the idea is that we're going to read this XML file into memory using some APIs that Android has. So it reads it, and they have this concept of an inflator. And the idea is it takes an XML file and inflates it into a menu object. It turns it into a menu object. I don't know why they call it inflator, but menu inflator object that we need to import. And we'll call it inflator. And we use this method called getMenuInflator. All right, so that creates me a new inflator object. And then I call the inflator.inflate method, which is funny. And we give it the resource name of the menu that we just created. So it's that r.menu and then the name of the XML file that we created, which in our case, IntelliJ finds it, and it's called chart. And then we pass in the menu object that was sent to us in this onCreateOptions menu. All right? And then we need to return, because this is a Boolean expression, a Boolean method, we need to return that we've done something to this method. Okay? So this gets called by the operating system, calls our onCreateOptions menu whenever it needs to create the menu. And all we're doing is we're saying, go out, get the XML file, read it into place, and add it to this menu object. That's what the inflator does. Now this could all be done in one line. We don't need all those little objects. I could just do this. Yep, forgot my menu here. All right, that would do it as well. So just to show you the different objects that were being used here, I don't need to save those because I'm not doing anything with them. So I could just call this all in one line. All right, any questions on that so far? All that's doing is getting the XML file, creating the menu structure in memory whenever the Android OS needs to do that. So then we need a method that gets called whenever the user selects a menu. All right, so let's just run this and see if that actually shows up on our menu, on our chart program. We'll pause. All right, so we got our app came up finally, and the menu shows up here. This is the standard place for menus now in Android 3 and up. So I now have a bar chart and a line chart option, and I select that, and my app doesn't do anything, right? I need to respond to those requests. Yeah, I know, because my default is a bar chart. So let's go, and we need to write a new method now that we're going to override, not override. We're going to add a function that's a Boolean as well. That's called onOptionsItem selected. Nice long one. And it gets a menu item as its input to our little function. So we need to import that guy. All right. That's one that is given to us by the operating system. Yeah, I didn't put the override in. Yeah, there you go. So it's one that's built in. It's one of the Android API methods. So all we have to do is do something with it. And what we need in here It's basically, I'll start by writing the switch statement. It's easy to have a switch statement that we call depending on what gets passed to this. So if, let's see, sorry, not like that. Switch, I'm going to say get the item ID from the menu item that they give us. And then if it is the bar chart, then I'm going to do some bar chart stuff, right? Draw the bar chart. And break. And if it is the line chart, then I'm going to do line chart stuff. Break. Otherwise, and a switch statement has a default method. Otherwise, I'm going to return the parent's version of this on options item selected and pass in the same thing that was given to me. All right? So in these methods, I need to do something to switch my chart. If they didn't select anything, if they selected something that I'm not handling, some other item that's in the menu, it's going to go to the parent class and run that version of this method to figure out the rest of the options. And we'll make use of that later. All right? Everybody understand the switch statement at least, though. So it's giving us an error because we're missing a return statement. If we satisfy these, a lot of the methods online do this. Jeez, I can't spell today. Return true after you've satisfied that. But in this case, if we satisfy it, we can just return true at the end. There's no reason to have it in both case statements. If it isn't one of these two, it's going to do this anyway, which is returning the super. It's going to go to the parents class to execute that method. So we need to return something at the end if we've satisfied this system. So now we can go down and actually draw the chart. So we had this code in here whenever the chart would be drawn. And what we could do, just to show you, and then we're going to refactor the heck out of this, but I'm going to copy this up here just to show that it will work. We'll do all of this code inside the break statement for each of them. So we're going to get the chart layout. We're going to initialize the chart, add our data. And for this one, for the bar chart, we're going to draw the bar chart and not the line chart. And for this one, we're going to draw the line chart and not the bar chart. All right, so this is a lot of extra code, right? We're going to reformat this and make sure it works later. The problem is that whenever we add something, see, this is adding the view to the chart, adding the chart to the view. Sorry, if we keep adding views on top of each other, we won't see anything. We need to remove the view every time we add it. So the resume down here is going to create the chart and add it. So if we switch in this menu, we need to remove the view from the layout. So after we get it, we're going to say layout.remove view and give it the view, which is this M chart. And we're going going to do, and obviously this is not very dry. We'll fix that in a minute. And we have an error. In this case, this really isn't an error because it's defined inside of a switch statement. But we can fix that by moving this line out and put it above the switch statement, so that we create this linear layout, and then we don't have to do it inside of. So that's one small little refactor that we'll do here. I just want to see if we can switch between the two using this menu. Make sure that our menu item selector is working right. So while this is running here, nice and speedy. So there's the bar chart, and I select line chart, and it draws a beautiful line chart. Look at that. Isn't that nice? It didn't work. Right. So it at least drew it. I think what happened is it's destroying it and then never adding it back in again. So when I was refactoring, I lost that code that I had this interim step in here. So instead of trying to fix it, we're going to go straight to refactoring all of this. All right. So there's some code here, obviously, that needs to be done only once. So let's create a method called drawChart. And just to show you how we might refactor this. And inside of this is where I'm going to do some of this all of this kind of code in here. See, the problem is there's several steps in here, so yeah, I know. I'm trying to figure out what step one was, though. So what I wanted to do was make my item on options item selected as small as possible. So all it does is I'm going to set a variable, a property of my class, to be whatever the user selected, so that my draw chart can use that to draw the right chart. All right. So this this on item selected is going to be switched down to a lot smaller. So we're going to cut all of this out. And my indenting is not right. That just can't happen. So I'm going to create a variable called selected chart style. And that's going to be equal to some kind of a bar chart thing, right? So I wanted to introduce a new concept in Java. This is just a Java language concept of a type of variable called an enum, which is short for an enumerated variable. Sorry, what happened there? So we can create basically our own types of data using this enum concept. So let me find my code, sorry. It's my... So I'm going to create my own variable type up here, and we're going to call it chart style. And we're going to make this an enum. And what it does is it lets us have these variables in here that I can use, and we typically make these uppercase. These are like global constants. They don't really mean anything. They're a lot like a Ruby symbol in a lot of these cases. So then I need a variable that is of that type. So we're going to say chart style selected chart style. That's the variable name. The type is of type chart style. And I want to set it initially to the enum that I have, chart style dot bar chart. So that's initializing it to the default chart that's going to get drawn when the activity launches. All right, so this is a new concept of these of an enumerated style. We can have as many of these as we want. You think of them as a Ruby symbol or a global constant. It's just a constant to help the readability of our code. That's really all it is. All right? So down here, I'm going to change this to say when they select the bar chart, I'm going to use the bar chart style. I'm setting this global variable to use that. I don't want to lose my code here. Then when they select the line chart, I do the same thing. I'm going to say just make sure that I'm choosing the chart style as the line chart. And notice how IntelliSense finds it because it's a new variable type that is created for Java here, basically. Right? Once that's selected, I want to call my new method called drawChart. So each time, that's going to call my drawChart. So now my little options select is a lot smaller. I do the main lifting of this code in my drawChart method. All right, so inside of my drawChart, I'm going to use that. I need to get the layout, so I'm going to start copying some of this code out of here. That should not be needed anymore. Inside of my on item selected. So I need the view because I'm going to remove the chart. So I'm going to do this layout dot remove view, and the view that I'm going to remove is called my mchart. And then inside of this, depending on what chart they've selected, I'm going to draw the right chart. So I can say switch, and this would allow us later on to add a bunch more chart types, right? So depending on what style has been selected, what's in that global variable, if it is my bar chart, then I want to do this, where's my code? My bar chart. Let's get both of these guys. I'm going to draw the bar chart view. And then if it's my line chart, I'm going to do the other one, which is my line chart view. And otherwise, if anything else happens, I'm just going to quit. I'm just going to break. I don't care. It's as if they did nothing, right? So that's what actually does the charting. Then I have to change my my program, I told you there's a lot of refactoring in here to get this to work right. At the bottom, oh, I forgot one thing. At the bottom, no matter what, I'm going to do the layout.add view to put the view back on, and we want to add our chart back in. So we're removing it no matter what, and we're adding it back in no matter what. And then we switch that if they choose one of these options. So that handles the case of changing orientation of the screen. I want the same chart to be drawn if they change the orientation, right? I don't want to tilt it and it all of a sudden draw the bar chart and they had the line chart up. So this should fix that kind of a concept. So I need to now fix my resume because that's where all of this charting was actually created.
That's why, because the if statement there, mchart wasn't null, so it wasn't.
Right. Right, and it got a blank chart here. So instead of doing all of this, I can now call my draw chart method. And that will draw whatever was selected. And by default, coming in the first time, I have it selected as this default here. So bar chart is going to be the first chart that gets drawn. So I think I have everything. Let's run this guy. And I don't really need this here either. So we can take that out. So let's go to our weight logger. Come on. Go to our weight chart. It draws the bar chart as the default first. I can select now going to line chart. Draws my line chart. Beautiful, huh? I select back to my bar chart, and it goes back to my bar chart. Isn't that great? Beautiful, man. And theoretically, if I have it right, I can rotate. And I had line chart selected, so line chart should come up. See? Look at that beautiful line chart. So I have some problem with my switcher here, but it's so slow. But it'll still draw in this orientation. So my on resume is somehow causing that to go away. So I'll have to figure that out. But isn't that cool? So now I have a menu that deals with just this particular view. It's really slow. It doesn't like to do that. No. All right. So any questions on that? I'll figure that out. I don't want to do that right now. I'll figure that out. This is not a big problem. All right, so let's just walk through it one more time. The options, this on create options menu actually reads from the resource file, puts it into an Android menu object, and then it handles drawing it on the screen. The Android OS handles all of that. If the user selects one of the menu items, I check to see which one they've selected, and I do something based on that. So I either set this variable to be bar chart or line chart, and then I redraw my chart. If none of those are selected, it calls the parent's version of this on options item selected, which we'll make use of to add additional items to the menu. And the draw chart, all it does is removes the chart that was there before and redraws it, recreates this MChart view, and adds it back into the view down here. So my draw chart, that's what it was. That's all that did. That's my draw chart. All right, my init chart gets called on the resume. So the resume goes and initialize the chart. That doesn't change. That's where you'd add all your options to change the scale and all of that. Then I add my data from my log file, and I draw the chart again. So it actually could be the repaint. Something is wrong on the resume. The resume gets recalled again, and the chart is already defined, so it just repaints that M chart again. So I don't know. That's interesting. No, because, well, it's a lot more work to draw the chart. The view is already there. We could try that. So we can try that. And that's it. It wasn't too bad. And remember, we added the menu XML file. This is what ties it back in. That's the ID that I'm reading from to see if they selected that. And that's what actually gets displayed to the user. So not too bad. See if that fixed it. Any questions on any of that? You always have an issue. So slow. All right, switch. Yeah, that wasn't it. There's something with my logic that's wrong there. But still, the user could redraw it, right? So it's not devastating. But it's annoying, it's not user-friendly, but that's a minor issue. Yeah, it draws it pretty fast. That open source code is pretty good. All right, any questions on that? Nope. All right.